I haven't put anything up now in a while. I've had to take some time away. Unfortunately, I had a death in the family. I won't go into the details of this because it's not my place. I'll leave it at that. So I had to take a couple of weeks away basically. I will say this, in the lead up to this and the events around this, I was followed by a local XTD in his grey Suzuki Jeep, and his brother was at the centre of the alleged historic sexual abuse allegations, and these two took this opportunity to harass me at this time. This was done without my mother's funeral as well. It was the same thing. They used this opportunity to try and harass me. Like, that's the level of people that you're dealing with. Rather than react to this, I just started taking photographs of these people, if I'm being honest with you. As many know, I brought several issues regarding these two and others around them that would warrant an investigation. Stooping as low as to harass me at this time shows how desperate they are to play this down in an effort to try and get me to react. And Waterford Gardaí, as usual, look on while this is happening there and do fuck all, let's be honest about it. I'm using bad language there now. I was trying to kind of cover the bad language, so if one or two slips out, it does, because I'm not too pushed on the editing. Stooping as low as harassing me at this time shows how desperate they are to play this down and get me to react and provoke me, in order basically of sweeping this all under the rug, try and get rid of me and shut me up. Waterford Gardaí obviously watches on, the usual shit, driving past my apartment with the sirens on. I have loads of recordings of this, but I won't go into it. But as we all know, this is assisted by a present TD, not only just the ex-TD, who's basically protecting his brother, and the involvement of the whole kind of family in a certain charity in town, and the actions several members, yes, members, plural, not just member as people think, members. So I've been alleging certain issues, and I've been bringing up certain topics, and they don't want me talking about it. So they stoop to this level to provoke me or try and harass me around this time. These clowns were joined locally then by let's just say this hypocrite who's involved in the Legion of Mary. Believe it or not, he's actually related to me. I haven't spoken about this person because when my mother was alive, she asked me not to bring up one or two things, but now I'm going to bring it up because he's taken to harassing my family, and I'm going to bring it up. And I want to point out how these hypocrites, they'd never engage with like any kind of addicts or homeless people. They'd rather sit around praying for the sins they're about to commit, because that's how much of a hypocrites they are. They're too busy looking down their nose on addicts and homeless people, do you know what I mean? And this person was actually a relative of mine. He'd be best buddies with the alleged perpetrator up in this charity. Two of them now, would they be basically, I'm trying not to curse here, they'd be basically the best of friends, let's just put it that way, okay? When my mother was alive, there was an issue with this relative. It was his trying to provoke me to protect this alleged perpetrator. He thought more of this hypocrite than he did of his own sister, my mother. She asked me to say nothing, and I did as she asked. Now, as my mother has unfortunately passed, I will explain this person's involvement and why he's assisting this person, while they sit around in their prayer groups playing the guitar and pulling on each other's strings. When my father passed away in 2015, we all know I was kind of like, after being in this Baha'i religion, Bahai, and I didn't speak to these people. I detested them, and being honest, I seen it for the cult that I was, basically. And I had left, but they sent a fucking mass card to me family. And on the mass card there was a quote. I won't say what the quote is, but my family found it a bit strange. I knew what it was, but I didn't say it to anyone, and I just left it go at that. And it was my mother's birthday then, before she passed away there. I think it was around 2019. And this uncle of mine, this is the way I just put it, who was a friend of this alleged perpetrator. He sent me mother a text message out of the blue, and it had this quote that I just mentioned or wrote in the open. Now, it could have been coincidence, as you would. She showed it to me. She couldn't make head nor tail. She's like, what's that about? I said to her, I don't know. I said, just ignore it. Obviously, I didn't tell my family about this kind of stuff. So I ignored it. Then about 3 or 4 weeks passed again. He sent me mother a Christmas card then. And on the Christmas card was again the same quote, yet again, trying to provoke me. My mother didn't know what was going on. She was like, what's this quote? So this is what he was doing. He's trying to provoke me using this kind of quote that was at the coming basically from this bad white crowd. And this scruffy scumbag, that's the only way to describe him there now. He's hanging around there, my family there now, especially now in the last few weeks. And if he keeps it up, then now I'm going to talk publicly about stuff that you don't think that I know about from years ago. And you won't be long about running back into your fucking shell. God forbid you put your hand in your pocket and buy a fucking reed or a bunch of flowers and put them on your sister's grave. Do you know what I mean? Another one to crawl out with the woodwork when my mother was sick to appease their own fucking guilt. Do you know what I mean? For not having anything to do with my mother in the years leading up to her death. Let's be honest about it. And now because you want to appease your own guilt, you cycle out. You hadn't even the courtesy to pay for the fucking bus out. You cycle out because you're that mean. To say some bullshit prayers. This is the same uncle that tried to change the funeral arrangements along with the perpetrator, as we know, of the sexual abuse. That's how close these two are. He tried to change my mother's funeral arrangements for this person. I'll speak about all this later on my website. I finished my website that I was making. It takes a couple of days now to upload. It's www.standingagainstcorruption.com. As I said, it'll take a couple of days to upload, and the first page is pretty long. It kind of gives a brief synopsis of all of this. The second page, I'm going to upload videos, and I'm going to just try and explain the videos concisely without cursing as much. And then the third and fourth page, I'm going to add supporting documents to show you who's involved and like how they're involved and how this all went down basically. And it shows basically that I didn't just pluck this out of the air. Like how crazy would that be if I made all this up? Like, so obviously I didn't. So there's, what's the word? There's no smoke without fire, as they say. And they're going to say the same about me. But the only difference is I'm calling for a public, open investigation. Do you know what I mean? They are not. Many will know I'm speaking the truth, but the slander that was spread to destroy my character, and then they went around and they boasted about doing this. No one was asking why or how this was done. That's the intelligence of the people that I'm dealing with. I'm talking about local, small-time drug dealers, and before anyone labels me as an informer, unlike many people in Waterford who point the fingers at others, I've never ever given anyone's name ever regarding anything. And it's not some criminal code as people would like to think it is. It's just because I'm just not like that, and I've never ever given anyone's name. And any shit that I had to face, I faced on my own. I don't have any issues with people selling drugs. To be quite frank, I couldn't really care less one way or the other, if I'm being honest. But I think it's very relevant that certain high-profile people and parties were able to engage with local drug dealers so quickly at the drop of a hat. On another subject, we're all aware of how members of Sinn Féin has taken to protecting TD David Cullinane of Sinn Féin and his cronies, not to mention an ex-TD whose brother it is at the centre of these alleged allegations. And these people are getting, this ex-TD is getting support from a present TD, and I believe that should all be called out and it should all be investigated instead of it constantly being like swept under the carpet, which is what's going on. We all know what I'm saying is pretty fucking serious. I know these videos don't come across too well, and I know I kind of tend to curse a lot and kind of like, but this is the levels that you have to go to stand your ground. Like, I'm deemed the bad guy because I'm speaking the truth, and as nasty as the truth is, and we all know it's pretty fucked up. Like, it should be investigated, should it not? Like the stuff they say about me, that should be investigated as well, shouldn't it? So we'd have the whole lot investigated. I've showed how in a veiled threat that my views went from the 1,000 views on the YouTube channel. I think it's up to around 11,000 views now. But that can only be construed as a veiled threat. It happened in the couple of days after the meal that was had down the Terror Hotel by Sinn Féin on the 22nd of November. In the weeks after that, in the days and the weeks after that, my views jumped from 1,000 views up to over 10,000 views. Is this really what our predecessors of Sinn Féin/IRA sacrificed what they did to protect the people that are using and abusing the network of Sinn Féin and the name, to protect the cronyism and the bullying and intimidation and more or less the corruption that's going on within the party, while certain members look the other way and pretend that it's not happening. We all know it's fucking happening. All of us know what's happening, but not all of us are willing to talk about it. Sorry, I've been doing some research, and I've read how Sinn Féin on several occasions in recent years, Sinn Féin has been accused of harassment, bullying, and failing to deal with issues in their own party. This has actually even been accused by some of their own councillors who had to leave the party. I want to touch on a case there in 2014 about Miss Cahill. Sinn Féin would appreciate that I'm going into all this, but this woman dared stand her ground, and she wanted her accusers held accountable. You can look into this case if you want. It's a pretty nasty case, but rather than acknowledge what this woman went through, a smear campaign was orchestrated. Graffiti wrote across it from the woman's house. It was a really nasty case, and they tried to label this woman a liar, and as I said, a smear campaign was all begun, and this was the tactic that was used by Sinn Féin to approach this. This is not right. You have members of your party going around knocking on people's fucking doors because they speaking negatively of the party. You know what I mean? It's not North Korea we're living in. It's supposed to be a democracy. You're supposed to be allowed to have a voice without feeling threatened or intimidated. Only recently we have Mary Lou MacDonald, and she made the comment saying there was no comparison between the gangland culture and the actions of Sinn Féin/IRA. And I'd like to think that when you have people knocking at people's doors, fucking threatening people and other various stuff, that's only criminality. What's going on in my case is nothing but criminality. Do you know what I mean? You have members of your own party that are feeling so threatened in the past that they actually left because what they portray publicly is not what goes on inside the fucking yoke. And I could really go into detail here, but I won't, because I'd be dropping someone in it, basically. The culture of trying to undermine and belittle any critics seems to be an approach by Sinn Féin to try and play down any negativity, hence the lack of people speaking out. If they were as they portrayed to be, they would have been voted in a long, long time ago. I'm not supporting I'm not supporting any party or anything like that. I'm just sick of criminality being dressed up as patriotism to protect the corrupt that is undermining the Sinn Féin party, which is very real. What signal does that send out? Where you're willing to protect fucking at all costs, those accused or those alleged, one for all for one. You're not the Musketeers, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? The message that you send out to people they've been caught red-handed, and now that you're offering support and you fail to even acknowledge. What message does that send out when you think about it? They don't acknowledge, they don't ever deal with anyone in their party that's fucking being accused of X, Y, and Z. Let's just say that. You bury your head in the sand and you basically send out the message that they can all do what they want and that they'll be protected and supported no matter what. I don't agree with that, and I don't agree that our patriots of the past died for this kind of cronyism and bullying and intimidation. And if this puts me in danger for fucking speaking the truth, so be it. Like, is there any justification now in your party's involvement, in my case in Waterford? Is there any justification in the party's input, in my case, to try and suppress what I say and to protect Mr. Conan and his cronies? If so, like, we would all like to hear it. And this is your opportunity now to provide all the sexual shit that was spread about me, and you can say, well, it was a moral issue. Do you know what I mean? And the only thing I request is that you say that where it came from, who it came from, and how it was like spread around. And I think that's fair enough. You're all aware of how some criminals are quite happy to moonlight as Sinn Féin members and criminals at the same time. We have Jonathan Dowdall in the Dublin courts giving us an insight of what we already knew anyway. Why don't Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael or any of the other parties attract this kind of behaviour or their members? Because they won't put up with it. That's why. Like, are the votes really that important? We all know the joining of the parties was an attempt to basically keep Sinn Féin out for as long as possible. As I said already, I don't side with any party in particular. I actually would have lent more towards Sinn Féin in the past, based on like what I've read, based on what I've learned. Not just to be some part of some threatening group, which is basically what's been lured in, youngsters being lured in between the age of 25, because a vote is a vote. While they sit around smoking their weed, thinking they're great, getting their fucking Ireland 32 tattoos and voting in fucking Sinn Féin. That's realistically, that's what's happening. Like, everyone knows, and like, this is the truth. And I'm not having a dig at Sinn Féin, but I'm just saying there's a certain demographic of people that are being purposely chosen to create votes when needed. No issue with Sinn Féin as a party for the right. If it's the right, I have no issue with Sinn Féin as a party within reason. I don't really have any issue with any criminals, if I'm being honest with you, because as I said before, I couldn't care less. But I do care when people are dressing up patriotism to engage in criminality, or vice versa, to try and put fear and suppress people from saying certain issues and out with certain allegations. I care when my life and those around me are destroyed because of some messed up experiment by someone in Tussle, who was then able to fucking go through the members of Sinn Féin. I've explained all this. And this is how Sinn Féin were dragged into this. I didn't bring Sinn Féin into this. I simply spoke about the actions of Sinn Féin from them bringing Sinn Féin into this. When it all goes tits up, there's zero accountability. As usual, everybody looks the other way and buries their head in the sands. They lean on the whole kind of that they'll harass me and my family in an effort to just suppress what's been done. This is far removed from the Sinn Féin and the IRA of old that many of us romanticise about, and the patriotism of old is long dead, as Sinn Féin yet again failed to deal with in-house problems. There is a system which I pointed out before that goes on only in Sinn Féin. It would not be tolerated in any other party. Glorified bullying, playing up on the stigma attached to the party when it suits, engaging in the whole culture of bullying and intimidation, amongst other things I could really go into, and people know I could really go into it. Like, this needs to be stamped out. If you want to be taken serious as a fucking party, like, you know what I mean? You need to act more professional, not like a bunch of thugs, which is basically what's going on. And we know you have the higher statistics at the moment, but as I said, both parties like combine to try and keep Sinn Féin out. And as I said, there's a certain demographic of people that are being focused on, which is increasing the amount of votes for Sinn Féin. Let's be honest about it. Not to mention that the other parties that were in power, they made a complete and utter bollocks of the country. Now, because I dare stand my ground and because I'm willing to say it like it is, and we all know I'm only saying it like it is. I'm not making anything up. I'm not fucking lying. I'm not accusing people in the wrong. I'm just simply saying it like it is. And I'm saying what everyone else won't say, that they'll whisper about. And I've heard already how I'm apparently endangering myself in all this. Recently, someone said to me, what did they say to me? Fucking, fair dues to you now for saying what everyone was thinking, but at the same time you ruined your life. Now they didn't mean nothing bad by it, I understand where they're coming from. But that's the whole culture, like if you speak about this, you potentially are going to ruin your life. Mr. Cullinan should have stepped down after his up the rat comments, amongst other issues, and that's not even addressing his input into my case, which I could really open people's eyes about. But for the overall good of the party and the bigger picture, is this ultimately not what the essence of being a patriot is? You would step down not to add the negativity to the party. Instead, you ran to the party, you got the support from the fucking party, you fed the party a one-sided story, which I can understand the party then kind of reacting to. But the party should have stopped and said, hang on, let's look further into it. Or better still, you should have kept your fucking nose out of it. The negativity that's been brought on the Sinn Féin party, this does not lie on my shoulders, and it shouldn't lie on my shoulders. As I said previously, I've only spoken about what went on. I didn't bring them into this. Okay, Mr. Cunningham and his cronies up in Barry Street brought Sinn Féin into this. Sinn Féin chose to support and defend them. So I'm going to talk about it. Like the support that local charity is getting down through the decades in Waterford. Now we all know, we don't even have to talk, we don't even, like I don't even, like we all know what's after been going on for years up there, and his punishment is to fucking stay away from the charity. Like, are you kidding me? While other members of his family harass and cajole and fucking like try and have this suppressed multiple times. And as I said, there's unethical actions by various members, not member, plural, it's fucking members, going on up there. And they should all be investigated once and for all. And the only way you get that properly investigated is to remove the people that are pulling strings, or the potential people that are pulling strings, which we all know who it is. As I said, I've addressed all parties. None of them have fucking answered me. They hadn't had the courtesy to answer me. I went out there yesterday and made a statement regarding being nearly rammed off the road. The back roads, the tram over there, I only gave that yesterday, but I'm going to rewrite to all the parties again, and I want to find out which of these parties are choosing to look the other way and let all this fucking happen. Now, I've highlighted the corruption within Tusla by a psychologist who roped us into this Bowie religion. I'm going to speak about all this in videos, but this was all watched on by other members of Waterford Tusla. This should all be out in the open and spoken about. I've spoken about a solicitor, how she lied to not only just me, but she fed the judge full of lies, misled the judge, and then when she got caught, then she edited the file and then basically ditched the file before anyone could actually then she ditched the file before anyone could really get to the bottom of my accusations, basically, and see who was actually telling the truth. How you have this TD, how he wrongly stuck his nose in a very, very corrupt situation. Even though, believe it or not, before all of this, I actually informed this TD about this corruption. And he chose to side with the larger group, because that's the whole kind of nature of a demagogue, which would be someone that would kind of like capitalise on a large crowd of people. And that's what basically happened. But he had a knowledge of the corruption that I was talking about before this, and he chose still to side with these cronies up in Barrack Street. And then he's able to run to his fucking party and get support from the Sinn Féin party. Like, I understand Sinn Féin have been fed a one-sided story. I do understand that. But at the same time, they should have left him fucking stand with the egg on his face once and for all. And he should have been fucking removed a long time ago. How a Gardaí was swapping information and he swapped the summons. I was led to believe that this was a person running a rubbish business, as we all know, but actually I now know who it is. It was the same person who put up the comments a while ago on social media saying that I raped my daughters. This is someone that I know, and this person knows as well. So it was done strategically to make both of us argue with each other, basically. What I've highlighted in a local charity, the decades of nepotism, how this family is somehow always protected and the issues always played down. This should be publicly investigated. Instead, it gets the assistance of other high-profile people to assist trying to harass myself into provoking me into a reaction. Any person thinking of coming forward regarding the actions of certain members, yes, members, as I said it before, and I say it again, it's members, plural, whether this is played down, this should be looked into, because there's other members on the board and it needs to find out like which workers were aware and present, and I'll have to choose my words here carefully. They need to work. This needs to be investigated because it needs to be established which workers were aware of the exact accusations and which workers which would have had a link to this person and they kind of failed to report it. Don't be put off by the harassment that you see, like me being subjected to and all that shit. Stand your ground, come forward, but as I said, you probably need to go and speak to a solicitor out of town first, because some solicitors are water for sharing information. Not all of them, but some of them are. But like, don't be put off, stand your ground, go to a solicitor and go to the guards. I will start explaining this in my videos. I want to try and explain this once and for all, without the cursing, more concisely. And this is why I have my website made there now, www.standingagainstcorruption.com. And I'll start from 2013 and I'll explain all this crazy stuff. It'll take me a couple of videos to explain it, but this stuff is just crazy and you could not in 100 years be making this up. And I will show supporting documents and I will mention names as well. And then there's those that have to go along with this that are not corrupt, but they're in the whole category of don't rock the boat. You either become like us or they'll basically push you out of your job. Like, that's fucking wrong on so many levels, do you know what I mean? Obviously, by what I've just said, it shows two things. I will do and I will say what needs to be said as long as it's true, and I won't be bullied or threatened to try and stop or suppress what I'm saying, which is more that can be said than some of our local journalists who carried information back to certain people I was talking about. Some waste of going to college, do you know what I mean? You lack the backbone and the integrity to pursue a story. And you only kind of cover a story when another journalist covers it. You try to plagiarise his story and push it out. Do you know what I mean? This person used to write for the Munster Express. I think he writes for the Journal now. He's actually after blocking me. But before he blocked me, he passed the information that I was after giving it to him, because I met him several years ago, and he passed this information back through the Sinn Féin network. Do you know what I mean? This seems to be quite a common thing of any information being suppressed that seems to be passed back through the Sinn Féin network. So I'm going to leave it there for now. Unfortunately, I had to take a couple of weeks away, as I just said. But I'll be back. My site will be up and running in a few days as soon as it gets clearance, and then I'll upload videos that will be more concise, and I'll also upload the paperwork. And I'll also update as well which other parties are aware of this and they're actually not pushing. This should be pushed into the door and it should be publicly investigated. My stuff and their stuff should all be investigated. I'd like to think it's to help me, but it's actually to prevent it from being done again. So I'll leave it there. And if I look tired, it's fucking 6:30 in the morning, so, do you know what I mean? That's it. Bye.